I like Joker too. Just gonna come out of the gate and say that I do have some weird movie tastes, but I felt like with the discourse that's happening with this movie, I just wanted to kind of bring light to something I found interesting within the discussion of the film. This is going to be less about me liking the film and more about society's reaction to it. That being said, I do want to come out of the gate also and say I totally understand if you don't like this film. This film demands a lot of the viewer, and that can be due to some not good choices when it comes to the film regarding writing or regarding pacing or anything like that. It has a lot of problems. When I say this film demands a lot from the viewer, it is such a niche film, it is insane. First of all, you're already taking an audience that might love the first film already. You're taking that audience that now has those expectations from the first film and bring it into a new film. This is something that's difficult across any sort of sequel whatsoever. But on top of that, you're turning that into a musical. Musicals, I could say, are easily the most hated of genres in film out there. Not saying that people don't like musicals, but the amount of times I've heard the phrase, I hate musicals, when it comes to film whatsoever, it's astounding. It's a very common conception because people simply don't like their characters breaking out into song, or it takes them out of the immersion. So not only is it a sequel, but it's also a musical. On top of that, let's be honest, it's not a good musical. The songs are rough. The songs are rough in performance and basically just being memorable in the first place. There's a lot wrong with it. And then on top of that, the biggest sin that you can possibly have when it comes to making a sequel. This film deconstructs the first film. People usually don't dig deconstructions at all. I'm talking like Last Jedi was the most infamous of the deconstructions that people love to hate. There's also The Matrix Resurrections. Same thing. Basically, whenever a sequel comes along and tries to tell you that, hey, we're going to riff on what made the other films good, and we're going to come up with something more unique, and then question our own movies, it's going to cause a stir. This film has all of that. This film was destined to be disliked, just from the choices alone. I get it now. After watching it, I would say around 4 days ago, I did like the film. I liked the film, but I was very torn on the ending. I felt like the ending was just something that was tacked on for shock value. And I'm not going to get into it necessarily because the discourse for this film, like I said, is already insane. People have already stated why they like it, why it works. And people stated the opposite of why it doesn't work for them and stuff like that. And the thing is, all of that is valid. That's all valid. The very interesting thing that I find interesting in this is that this movie fulfilled its own prophecy. I'm getting into spoilers. If you haven't seen this movie, I honestly recommend watching it first before getting too far into the discussion here. But this culminates in Arthur admitting that he is just Arthur, not this Joker that people have been wanting to see him be, just like us as an audience. I know a lot of people were betrayed by this idea that they're not trying to flesh out this Joker character more. Instead, we're just getting Arthur Fleck. Now, what makes this even more interesting is that this whole movie is basically people struggling to like Arthur, whether it's Arthur or whether it's his Joker-ish personality or what. Everyone's trying to find the reason to like this guy, but he is consistently choosing to not be liked, whether it be direct, whether it be indirect actions or whatnot. It feels like if I were playing a video game that has choice-based decisions. I love these types of games. You know, I'm talking Heavy Rain and stuff like that. It's like the main character of this game keeps choosing the wrong options to stay alive or to stay liked. He doesn't have the ability to be this massive Joker that people know Joker to be. And people leave him for that. He also wants to be liked by the security guards who also in this film like him as well to a certain extent. But even he turns away from those security guards because he's so absorbed in his Joker persona that other people want him to be. It's like he's turning everyone against him throughout the course of this film until at the very end he is left alone. This film, like I said, was purposely made to try and get a reaction out of you so that while you're watching it, you're repeatedly basically saying, no, this isn't for me. I'm not into it. And I know a lot of people here are going to say, oh, this is cope. This is cope. Oh, it's purposely being bad and you're just trying to excuse it. No, it's not necessarily that. I'm trying to make the connection as to, once again, spoiler alert, why Arthur has to die at the end. I'm glad that in the courtroom, he tried to take accountability for his actions. It was such a huge character development moment you don't see in films like this. It's crazy. And people felt betrayed by that, much like Harley when she leaves, or just Lee when she leaves during that scene. It's that point where he's putting his personality on the table for this courtroom to see, much like this movie is. And just like him in the movie, everyone wants to kill it. Like, you have to admit, looking at the media regarding this film, what people are saying on social media, it's gone past, oh, I don't like this film, to like ragging on it for entertainment value. People are actually finding entertainment in hoping that this is a bad movie and finding out that it's a bad movie and like just going full force into creating memes. People are constantly talking about the scene where Joaquin Phoenix, the Joker, Arthur Fleck, whatever, is hushing Lady Gaga while she's trying to sing on a stairwell. And he's like, please stop singing. Just talk. And everyone's like, ha 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 ha. Also the whole point of her character is she's manipulating Arthur Fleck through song, through something that he finds joy in. And she does this till the end, until he finally realizes that he's being strung along with fancy words, fancy melodies. He realizes that. And that's the movie telling you that. But people see the meme material instead. When someone sees something bad, they tend to actually enjoy the fact that it's bad more than anything. You see this with Velma. You see this with The Last Jedi. You see this with a lot of films like Madam Web or Megalopolis. I don't know how to fucking pronounce that. There's a lot of enjoyment in tearing these properties down. We want to see movies fail. And that's what happens at the end of Joker 2. Everyone wanted to see Arthur fail. They wanted to kill him off. Much like everyone wants to kill this movie off. Because it wasn't what they wanted. Arthur wasn't what Gotham wanted. It's so interesting. Whether you like this movie or not, like, it predicted itself. It predicted its reaction in a way. That would not be the case if the movie was good. Imagine if this movie was heralded like 80%, which, let's be honest, the creators of this movie would have wanted that to be. Like, everyone wants their movie to be good. But it wouldn't have the same impact anymore, wouldn't it? If this movie did very well, critically and financially, it defeats the purpose of the ending. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a different ending on the cutting room floor, a completely different ending. And then just seeing the critic reviews, they just went, nah, just kill him. Everyone wants to kill him. But what's the moral of the story here? What's the moral of the story? I would say don't find extreme joy in bad. Like, yes, we can enjoy bad things. Just don't hate to hate. If anything, if you've seen this movie and come out hating it, why do you hate it? That's the thing to actually think about. Like I've said, the musical numbers, not that great. There's a lot wrong with this film. It's been discussed a million times by now. But I've seen so many things like, why did it have to be a musical? And it's like, that's not a criticism. That's something you didn't want. Why didn't Joker become Joker? That's not a criticism. That's just something you wanted. Really delve into why you don't like this film. Really try to understand what didn't work. Not what didn't meet your expectations. What didn't work. And maybe at least you can gain something from this film that you can take into another film that you might not have otherwise liked. You give yourself a little bit more of that critical thinking, and you realize, oh, maybe this doesn't always mean bad, or maybe what I'm not liking about this film isn't necessarily grounded in the quality of the film, but more grounded in what I'm bringing into it. There's a lot that can be learned, but in the end, to me, I just find it interesting that Joker 2 actually saw what was coming. Either way, I like the film. I thought it was a great character study. I know a lot of other people think that as well. You might not be one of them. But I mean, what's so bad about that either? Art is subjective. It's not supposed to be completely liked all the time. It's supposed to enlighten us. And whether you like it or not, Joker 2 can be a very enlightening experience. All in all, I get it now. I understand why they chose the ending they chose. Quite frankly, looking at how the whole situation has gone, it's the only way this movie could have ended. But maybe the movie itself doesn't have to die along with Arthur. I've heard some people say they want more from this universe. And quite frankly, you should go see this movie, even if you haven't, even if you know you're going to hate it, because supporting an ambitious film like this is only a net positive in the long run. You might gain something from it, and Hollywood at least knows that people care about films like this. And if not, so be it. That's just the way the world works. All in all, we can at least agree that the ending of Joker 2 is at least better than the ending of this video.